Will Purim be the only festival when Mashiach comes? Huh?
No.
Well, before we get to that, we know that the Torah is always current events. Never fails. Last night, Binyamin Netanyahu went to the Kotel to be mitzpalel to Hashem, that he should be successful when he goes to Congress to plead for the Jewish people, that Iran should not annihilate us in one day. And that's pretty amazing because Esther Hamalka comes from Binyamin. And she also went to mitzpalel before she went to plead with Achashverosh that the Jewish people should not be annihilated in one day by Paras Iran. One day. So that's what Iran wants now, the nuclear bomb. It only takes one day. And the language is the same. To annihilate us in one day. So it's amazing, Sonia. You have the players. It's incredible. It's just amazing that what's happening now is the Megillah playing out. You have Obama. He's Achashverosh. And Ayatollah Khomeini, Haman. And Esther comes from Binyamin. And Binyamin Netanyahu is going to plead for the Jewish people. Just amazing. It fast forward, Rabbi Yaakov, 2,400 years, and nothing much has changed.
And he has not done that before when he
What?
went to Umar. He has not gone to a kotel before when he would.
Just he went to be mispalel. So the events of the Megillah, Yehud, are unfolding in front of our eyes right now. The names are different, but the situation is the same. Even the country is the same. Now it's called Iran. Then it was called Persia. And the language that Haman is speaking is the same language Ayatollah Khomeini. The Kakamemi, that's in English, but in Hebrew it's Ayatollah Khomeini. So it's just amazing how the events of the Megillah are playing out in front of our eyes. Just amazing. But that's for a different subject. Maybe on Wednesday we'll talk more about that. But today, let's talk about, will Purim be the only festival when Mashiach comes? Now, how do I know that? If you look at side number 1. You see side number 1, Mikimia? Side number 1. Side number 1, Esther. Number 1, Esther, it says. See number 1, Esther?
Yes.
It says, Yemei HaPurim, in the text, Yemei HaPurim ha'eleh lo yavru mitoich ha'Yehudim. I'm reading in the text. The Yemei HaPurim ha'eleh, these days of the lottery, lo yavru mitoich ha'Yehudim, will never pass from the Jews. What does that mean? So you look at the, I have an X there, lo yavru, you see that? Do you have that, lo yavru? The X, the last line where there's an X there, lo yavru. This is a Medrash Mishlei. You see that? Melamed shafilu kol hamayadim yiyu betelim. Even if all the festivals will be canceled when Mashiach comes, al v'yemei Purim lo yavatlu. But the days of Purim will never be canceled. Very strange Medrash.
Yes.
Right? Again, lo yavru. The last line there where there's an X, lo yavru, melamed, shafilum kol hamayadim yiyu betelim, that even if all the chagim will be canceled when Mashiach comes, aval yemei hapurim lo yavatlu. But the days of Purim will not be batal. This is very difficult. Because what about the Ani Mamin? One of the Ani Mamins is that the Torah that we have will never change. Yes?
When Mashiach comes, are they going to cancel the Hagim when you bring
Stay tuned. That's my topic today. That's exactly my topic. It's a good thing you came this afternoon. How could the Medrash make such a strange statement that all the Chagim will be canceled except Purim? Because it says, Yemei Purim ha'eleh lo yavru mitoich ha'Yehudim. But what about the Ani Mamin? One of the Ani Mamins is that the Torah that we have is what? Forever. The Torah will never change. So how could the Medrash go against one of the principles of the Jewish religion, that the Torah is unchangeable? What? What? Purim is a rabbinic holiday. But how could the Medrash make a statement that when Mashiach comes, all of the Chagim will be canceled? No Yom Kippur, no Sukkot, no Pesach, no house cleaning. Huh? No Pesach. No Sukkos. Only Purim will remain. No Shavuos? What are you talking about? How could that be? How could that be? What? So actually this question is dealt with the Torah Tamima. He asked this question. What does it mean? So it's very small print, but if you look at the footnote, Mem Dalid, you see Mem Dalid on the bottom of the page. Well, I'll read it to you. Kifi the Mashma Rambam, Soif Hilchas Malachim, Hilchas Megillah, Shezichroin Hatzorais Mikola Mayadim Yibetelim. We won't mention all of the Tzorais of the Miyadim, but Purim will remain forever. So what does that mean, Purim will remain forever? So he gives a hesber over here. The Medrash is not to be taken literally. It doesn't mean that all of the Chagim will be canceled. It means the Bezeh Cholek Nes Purim Minise Shah Yom Tov. Purim is unique, it's different. All the other Yom Tovim, Pesach, Yitzias Mitzrayim, Matan Torah, Sukkot, you'll have supernatural miracles, right? Pesach, you had the open miracles of the 10 plagues, the splitting of the Red Sea. Shavuos, Matan Torah, God spoke to us. All of the people heard his voice. Sukkot, we all saw Ananei HaKavod. They are Nisim Giluyim, Avram. They are Nisim Giluyim. What does that mean? Supernatural open miracles. Avol Nes Purim B'derech HaTeva. All hidden. Nes Purim B'derech HaTeva. So that's Pshat. The Medrash doesn't mean literally that what? That all the Chagim will be canceled, because we know the Torah is forever. It means that the Nisim of the Chagim, Abraham, Pesach, Sukkot, and Shavuos, supernatural open miracles, we're not going to have anymore. That will cease. Nisim Giluyim, Yehuda. K'moy b'chol Yom Tov yefsuku. Open supernatural miracles like you have in the Torah, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, that's going to cease. Avol Nisim K'mo Purim lo yavatlo mi'olam. So that's what the Medrash means. The Mi'agim, not they're going to be canceled, but those types of miracles that caused the Mayadim, like Pesach, the supernatural Exodus, and the splitting of the Red Sea, and Shavuos, Matan Torah, we all saw and heard God's voice, and Sukkot, we all saw the magic clouds. We're not going to have that anymore. From now on, we're going to have miracles like what? Yehuda, Purim. Nisim K'may Purim that look like what? Derech HaTeva. That's what the Medrash means. You hear?
I don't understand, because
what?
Open miracles don't happen again.
We're not going to have any more open miracles. In the Messianic era, the miracles will be like Purim. No more supernatural razzle-dazzle where God speaks to us from the top of a mountain. No more splitting of the Red Sea.
So what's happening today?
What's happening today? That's a Purim miracle. God is working behind the scenes. God is wearing a mask. Right? Benjamin, not Bibi, Benjamin. And Esther comes from Benjamin, Kawinky Dinky. And they both are going uninvited by Achashverosh, Obama, to plead for the Jewish people not to be annihilated by Persia, i.e. Iran. 2,400 years. It's just amazing.
Isn't that the Rambam Shita?
That what?
That there won't be any open miracles?
We're going to go to that in a minute, Rabbi Aaron. But before that, we're going to go to that.
Purim took years.
It played out over 9 years. That's true.
Maybe this is going to take years.
Whatever. But anyway, will Purim be the only festival in the Messianic era? It won't be. But if you think about it, Dr. Abramson, all of the Chagim that we have are actually incorporated in what? Purim. I'll prove it to you. What's the first Chag? We'll start off with Rosh Hashanah. On Rosh Hashanah, it's written down who will live and who will die. Isn't that Purim? All of our lives were hanging in the balance on Purim. And in Yom Kippur, it's also Nechtami mi yichya mi yamut. So you have an aspect of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur where? In Purim. Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is Yom Hadin, who's going to live and who's going to die. And that's exactly what we were being judged on when? On Purim. Will the Jewish people survive or be annihilated? What's the next Chag, Yehuda? Pesach. What do we celebrate? Cherut. Let's start with Pesach. Pesach, that's the first Chag. Pesach, we celebrate Cherut. On Purim, we celebrate Cherut from death. On Pesach, we celebrate Cherut from slavery. On Purim, we celebrate Cherut from what? Death. So you have an aspect of Pesach in Purim. What comes after Pesach? Shavuos. What happened on Shavuos? We got the Torah. What happened on Purim? Kimu v'kiblu ha-Yehudim. And that's one of the reasons you have a Sudas Purim. When you finish a tractate, you make a Suda. So when we got the Torah, we make a Suda. Kimu v'kiblu ha-Yehudim. There was a new Kabbalah. Just like on Shavuos, the Jews accepted the Torah. But on Shavuos, it was a shotgun wedding. If you don't say I do, it's all over. On Purim, we re-accepted the Torah. But this time, we did it b'simcha. So that's the real reason why you have to have a meal on Purim in b'simcha. To celebrate the new Kabbalah Satorah. Kimu mashikiblu kvar. Unlike the first time by Shavuos, we accepted the Torah again, Mikim Yoen. On Purim, so you have an aspect of Shavuos where? In Purim. And that's one of the reasons why you have what? A Suda on Purim, to celebrate the new Kabbalah Satorah. What comes after Shavuos? Sukkos. Sukkos, what does the Sukkah represent? Divine shelter. Divine shelter. And that's what Hashem provided for us when? On Purim. God sheltered us with His loving kindness on Purim. And that's what Sukkot is about. Except on Sukkot, Yehuda, we saw the Ananei HaKovod openly. On Purim, we saw it what? Behind the mask. That's why you wear a mask on Purim. Why? God is wearing a mask. Peekaboo. God plays a game with us. He wears a mask, otherwise we wouldn't have free will. If God would take the mask off and you'd see the Yad Hashem, we wouldn't have any free will. So God wears the mask in order for free will to operate. But the tafkid of a Jew is what? To unmask God. What you see is not what you get, right? God is wearing a mask, but He's protecting us like He did on Sukkot with His divine shelter. So you see all aspects, all of the Chagim are actually contained in what? In Purim. Isn't that amazing? Now, was Haman good for the Jews? Sure was. So the Talmud says in Megillah that Haman did more for the Tshuva movement than all the 48 prophets. All the 48 prophets, they said, do Tshuva. It went in one ear, out the other. Haman came along and what?
Signed his name.
He just got the ring, and all of a sudden what?
Everyone was scared out of their mind.
They all did tshuva. Isn't that amazing? So whatever God does, Mashiach yayin yotze sod. Yayin is gematria sod.
Yayin goes in,
Sod comes out. What's the sod? No, thank you. What's the sod? That even a Haman is part of God's plan. Yiddish Yehuda. It's absurd. It's absurd. A Haman can be part of God's plan? Isn't that ridiculous? Only when you're drunk can you realize that. That it takes a Haman for the Jews to become Haredi. Isn't that absurd? For that you got to get shikr. That's the sod. Yayin gematria sod, Yehuda. The secret is that even a Haman, even Ayatollah Kakamemi, even an Obama can be good for the Jews. It'll force the Yidden to make Aliyah. The Jews of Borough Park will have no choice. And even in Lakewood, Obama, it's God's plan to force the Yidden to make Aliyah, to see the light. And that's what's happening in Europe. It's all part of God's plan. That's the secret. But you got to be drunk in order to relate to it. Pretty amazing, right? Now, if you turn your sheet over to side 2, the other side, this is what Rabbi Aaron was speaking about. This is the Rambam. Halacha Yud Ches. problematic Rambam. You see Halacha Yud Ches? I think there's a check there, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's a check there. Actually, Yud Zayin. Let's read Yud Zayin first. There are 6 mitzvahs on Purim. There are 6 mitzvahs, Halacha Yud Zayin. There are 6 mitzvahs on Purim. You know what the 6 are?
Yeah.
Everybody knows what? Megillah, Mishloach Monos, Matanas Levionim, and Sudah. There's a mitzvah also to read Vayovay Amalek in Purim morning. There's a mitzvah to say Al Anisim. So there's 6 mitzvahs. Again, Mishloach Monos, Matanas Levionim, Sudah, to read Vayovay Amalek, Exodus 17, and to what? To read Amalek, say Al Anisim, right?
What is it, Vayavo Amalek? To read
Exodus Purim morning. See, I had all the chagim in my head because they all tie into Purim. No, Pasha Zocha we read yesterday. All my trouble. That's we read in Pasha's Kitetse. Purim morning we read Pasha's B'Shalach. Vayovay Amalek vayalochem Yisrael b'Refidim. So that's a mitzvah of Purim, like having a Suda. So you have Mishloach Monos, Matanos Levionim, Suda. What else, Yehuda? Hear the Megillah. Vayovay Amalek, and to say Al Hanisim. So there are 6 Torah mitzvahs, 6 Rabbanon mitzvahs. Which is the most important of the 6? Look at Halacha Yud Zayin in the Rambam.
Zayin in the yellow.
And Yud Zayin in the yellow. Mutav la'adam laharbot matanas avyonim laharbos b'suda v'shloach monos. It is much better for a person to give alms to the poor. To do that in abundance is much more important than having a suda, and much more important than shloach monos. Yiddish halacha Yud Zayin. She'ein sham simcha gedola umafara. There is no greater joy and greater splendor. Elo l'sameach lev aniyim v'yitomim v'almonot v'gerim. There's no greater joy than to make happy the hearts of the poor people, the widows and the orphan and the converts. Shemasameach lev amlolim ha'elu. Anyone who makes happy the heart of these unfortunate people, domeh l'shchina. He's compared to what? The Shekhinah. That's pretty amazing. Shenema, there's a pasuk in Yeshayahu, lahachiyos ruach shvalim, to make alive the spirit of those that are downtrodden, v'lahachiyos leiv nitkayim, and to give life to the heart of the depressed. So anyone that gives matanas lavyonim in a big way on Purim is compared to the Shekhinah. That's very strange, Ruvain. The Rambam should have made this statement in Hilchos Tzedakah. Why does he make this statement in what? In the laws of Purim. This should to be a laws of Tzedakah.
And also, Rabbi, it's kind of mystical. It's not like his standard, he's talking about Shekhinah. He doesn't usually do that.
Right. Doimel Shekhinah. That's the Rambam does not engage in what's hyperbolia? What's the word? Hyperbole. And he says anyone that cheers up poor people or miskenim on Purim, domel Shekhinah. He doesn't say that in Hilchos Tzedakah. There's something about Purim, Yehuda, that if you cheer up poor people, you're compared to God himself. Avram, you hear this? Why? I'll tell you why. There's a mitzvah in the Torah, v'halachta b'drachav, to walk in God's ways. What happened on Purim? Weren't we all brokenhearted? Weren't we all depressed? We were all miskenim. And what did God do for us on Purim? He cheered us up. He redeemed us. So when we cheer up broken-hearted people on Purim, we're acting like Malka, we're acting like the boss. Dafkan Purim. V'alachte b'drachav. Weren't we broken-hearted on Purim? We thought we're going to be destroyed. So God cheered us up on Purim by saving us. So we cheer up poor people on Purim, and we're acting like him. And therefore the Rambam says, when you cheer up poor people on Miskenim on Purim, domel Shekhinah, no less. Pretty amazing. So of the all 6 mitzvahs on Purim, the most important is what? Matanas Levionim. That's cheering up poor people, making them happy. That's the most important mitzvah. Now look at Halacha Yud Ches, Aaron. You were alluding to this. Look at Halacha Yud Ches. You see that? Kol Sifrei Hanavim, V'chol Aktuvim. Sonia, have that? All the books of the prophets and the writing, Atidin Li'botel, Limot HaMashiach, will all become canceled in the Messianic era. Chutz, you have a paper? Chutz Megillat Esther. The only book of Tanakh that will remain is Megillat Esther. Harehi kayemes kechamisha chumshe Torah. Megillat Esther is going to attain the status of what? Of Torah. The only book in Tanakh that doesn't have God's name, when Mashiach comes, that book will be elevated to the status of what? Chumash.
I think he means that.
The question is why?
I think he means that the Chumash will also exist.
I know he means that. I know that. But somehow, what is so unique of all the books of Tanakh, Megillah Esther will be elevated to the status of the Chumash, which will remain forever. And Halacha Shel Torah Shel Bapeh, and the oral Torah, She'ena B'Teil L'Olam. Unlike the other books of Tanakh, which will become canceled, the Chumash and Megillah Esther and the Talmud, that will what? Remain forever. V'af api shekol zichroin hatzorot yivatel, shenem v'knishkechu hatzoros harishonos, yemei hapurim lo yivatlu. So the Rambam seems to be saying that all the other chagim will what? But that's going against his ani mamin. One of his ani mamins is
Can't change the Torah.
that the Torah can't be changed. So isn't he contradicting himself? He says, yemei hapurim lo yivatlu. Only Purim will not be canceled. Shenemar, because the Megillah says, Yemei Purim ha'eleh lo yavru metoich haYehudim. These days of Purim will never pass from the Yehudim. V'zichram lo yosef mizaram, and their remembrance will never cease from the children of the Jews. So what's the Rambam saying here? That the other Chagim will be canceled? So the Torah Temimah says, no, I gave you the Hezber. He means that just the other Chagim were introduced to us by supernatural miracles. That we won't have anymore. We're still going to have the Chagim, but when Mashiach comes, the miracles that will take place will be a Purim miracle, hidden miracles, not supernatural miracles like what? Like the Exodus or giving of the Torah or Anana Yaakov on Sukkot. We'll still have all the Chagim.
What about Tchias HaMesim?
What about Tchias HaMesim?
Isn't that a supernatural miracle?
Well, you know, that's a very good question. That's a great question of Aaron. That's a great question. Ooh, Aaron hit a home run over here. The Torah Temimah says that there will be no more supernatural miracles. So Aaron asked a bomb kasha from Bomland. What about Tchias HaMesim? Isn't that the most supernatural miracle? So Arya Kaplan Zatzal answered your kasha, Reb Aaron. Fasten your seatbelts. Arya Kaplan Zechus HaGavrocha said that Tchias HaMesim will work through cloning.
What?
I'm not joking. That's what he said. Cloning. It'll be
Cloning.
cloning. CL. What, for cloning? Tchiat HaMesim.
Resurrection of the dead.
It's the resurrection of the dead. Rav Aryeh Kaplan Zatzal said God will utilize cloning because they're not going to be any more supernatural miracles. So Rav Aryeh Kaplan Zatzal asked Aaron's kasha, isn't Tchias HaMesim the greatest all supernatural miracle? He says, no, it's going to be B'derech HaTeva. Scientists will use cloning because the little loose bone in the back of the neck, that contains the entire DNA of a human being. So they're going to clone a human being. They'll be God's agents. That's pretty amazing. Jurassic Park.
Who's gonna get cloned?
Raya Kaplan says it, Avram. That's what he said.
Who's gonna take the people to be cloned?
What?
Who's gonna get cloned?
Who's going to get cloned? Those people that are worthy to get cloned.
I went to the scientists and I asked for a clone, but they sent me a clown instead.
Jurassic Park. I don't know. Pretty amazing, huh? That's what he says, human cloning. He says that's why scientists are discovering cloning now. Why not 1,000 years ago? Because now we're getting close to the Messianic era. So God is putting all of these scientific wonders in place to get ready for Mashiach. Therefore, cloning didn't come out 1,000 years ago. It's dafka now. Isn't that amazing? Now,
Who's gonna clone the scientists?
who's going to clone the scientist?
I think one of the things by putting eggs and sperm together, aren't they?
What, the IVF? IVF? Well, I don't know, but anyway. Anyway, let's move on. If you look at the Sagas HaRavad, the Ravad doesn't agree with the Rambam. What do you mean? All the books of Tanakh we're going to put out in the recycling bin? Dr. Abramson, what do you mean? My Yeshayahu, my Yecheskel, and my Chavakuk, and my Chaga, Zechariah, what are going to put in the recycling bin? Well, that's what the Rambam says. The Ravad doesn't agree. 2 Jews, 3 opinions. Look at the Sagas HaRavad on the left side. You see it says on the left side there's a little box there. You need a magnifying glass. Evelyn, you have it? Hasagas HaRavad. You see that? Hasagas HaRavad, Mickey. You have it? No? Sonia, can you show her? Hasagas HaRavad. In the left side there's a small column there. There's a Y there. See it says Y? W-H-Y question mark. Okay. Kol Sifrei HaNeviim Baktuvim Atidin Lebatel. The Rambam says that all of the books of Tanakh and the writings are all going to become canceled. Aleph, Omar Avraham. The Ravad is Rosh Tevot, Rabbeinu Avraham ben David. The Ravad stands for, the Rambam stands for Rabbeinu Moshe ben Maimon. The Ravad, his sparring partner, stands for Rabbeinu Avraham ben David. Avraham. Omar Avraham. Dover Hedyoita Suzeh. This is Shtuyot. I can't say that. But the holy Ravad says, Shtuyot. How dare the Rambam say, I'm going to throw Yeshayahu in the trash? Chas v'sholom. No. Ki lo yevatel sefer mikol asvorim she'ein sefer she'ein boi limud. None of the books are going to be canceled. Because every book can teach me something. Avol kach amru. But this is what the Talmud means. Afilu yevatlu shas svorim likrosh bahem. None of the books will be canceled, Avram. But we're not going to read Eicha anymore in public. We're not going to read on Tisha B'Av. There won't be Tisha B'Av anymore, right? We're not going to read Shir HaShirim on Pesach. We're not going to read the book of Ruth when? On Shavuos. We're not going to read the book of what? Koheles when? Sukkos. Afilu yevatlu shas for Nikos Behem. Megillah loy tevatel. All of the other books we're still going to study, but they won't be read in public anymore. The only book that'll be continued to read b'tzibur is what? Megillat Esther. Megillat Ruth, no more reading on Shavuos. Megillat Koheles, no more reading when? Sukkos. Megillat Shir HaShirim, no more reading when? Pesach. The only book that will be continued to be read publicly is the Chumash and Avram. The Chumash and Megillah. Not Yeshua.
So this is a commentary on the same page. What about Shmuel? On the same page as this?
What? This is the Ravat's critique on the Rambam. The Ravat's critique on the Rambam.
So he really agrees, he just doesn't agree how it's going to be.
He says the Rambam shall be canceled, will be put in the recycling bin. Chas v'sholom, says the Ravat. No. We're still going to have Yeshayahu and Megillah Rus and Gehala, but we won't read them publicly in shul anymore. The only book that we continue to be read publicly in shul is what? Chumash and Megillah Esther.
So this means not no Haftorahs.
What? That's right. You can get to the Kiddush Club sooner. Rabbi Yaakov Golden made a beautiful point. People have, Dr. Abrams said, people have a Kiddush Club. So they won't be reading the Haftorahs anymore. So you'll be able to get to the Kiddush Club faster. That's right, beautiful. No public reading of the, even the Ravad agrees. Most of the Haftorahs that we have come from the book of Isaiah. It won't be read no more. The only book that'll be read publicly is the Chumash and what? Megillah Esther. Yes?
What's the purpose
of what?
Of not reading any more of these other Megillahs and not even public. What is the purpose?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
What about Shmuel?
In the Messianic era, the truth will become so plain, we won't need Isaiah. We won't need to read Isaiah publicly, and Yecheskel publicly, and Zechariah publicly. Their tafkid will have been fulfilled already. The Jews will do tshuva. But for some reason, Megillat Esther, the only book in Tanakh that doesn't have God's name, will be continued to be read publicly, just like what? The Chumash. So that begs the question. Why is the only book in Tanakh that doesn't have God's name be elevated in the Messianic era to the status of what? Of the Torah, yes?
But even today, there are certain shuls, Hasim especially, do not read the Megillas out loud except for Megillat Esther.
Well, Allah shul that I go to, we read from a klaf. We make a bracha on Shir Hashirim. We make a bracha on Koheles. Okay, but we make a bracha. You read the Megillas Koheles from a klaf. Megillah Shir Hashirim from a klaf, Megillah Srus from a klaf. You make a bracha al mikra Megillah.
You never heard people read it by themselves?
What?
My father surely didn't read it out loud.
Okay, but sir. Okay. It's a mitzvah to read it, but the point is, it won't be read anymore publicly except Megillah loy tevatel, mikra soisa b'tzibur. Somehow Megillah will attain the status of a Torah. The question is why? Why is the only book in Tanakh that doesn't have God's name reach the status of the Torah when Mashiach comes, yes?
Because it's celebratory.
What?
It's celebratory. It's a celebration. The end is a celebration. And that's why Tisha B'Av will be a celebration.
Right.
Pesach will be one day.
Who said? No, Sicha.
That's what I learned.
It's a good thing you came today. Ani mamin. That the Torah that we have will never change. Never. Ani mamin. Ani mamin.
What about Sefer Shmuel?
One second. Zechariah 8 says that Tzom HaRevi, V'Tzom HaChamishi, V'Tzom HaShvi, V'Tzom HaAsiri, those rabbinic fasts, Yeh l'sason l'simcha. So he's not changing anything. Those are rabbinic fasts. He's saying that those rabbinic fasts of Tisha B'Av and what? And Shivos HaTammuz will become days of joy when Mashiach comes. Those are rabbinic fasts. He's not changing the Torah. But the Torah, Yom Tov, will remain forever. Tisha B'Av is a Rabbanan. And it was only instituted from the get-go that we're only fasting until when, Rabbi Aaron? Till Mashiach comes. Yeh l'sason l'simcha. Right?
I have a riot.
A riot to what?
Why is the only book that's going to be read?
Publicly, together with the Torah. No more Haftarahs. And the Torah.
The Chumash.
Chumash and Megillah Esther.
And there's one other which I think exists, which is Sefer Shmuel.
No.
Okay.
The Ravid and the Rambam don't agree with you. All of the other books will be retired. They'll be retired.
I'll give you 3 reasons. Okay, I'll give you one reason why.
Why Megillah Esther will be on the level of the Torah? Give me why.
You have in Parshas Bishala and you have in Parshas Kisesei.
Yeah.
And also in the Megillah.
Yeah.
The concept of getting rid of a mother.
Okay.
Since you have those 3 things, that is the restoration of God's name. Okay. Al Kes Kol.
Right.
That's the making.
But when Mashiach comes, Amalek will be destroyed. We don't have to worry about abomination anymore. So why should we read Megillah Esther?
Only after the Mashiach.
No.
That's the first thing that Mashiach has to do is to kill Amalek.
That's right. So then,
And then he builds the base.
so therefore so the truth will be so plain, you won't need to read Isaiah anymore or Ezekiel anymore.
Well, the reason why we have the Nevi'im and the other ones are because since we didn't learn from the Chumash,
Yeah.
as a result of that, we had the Nevi'im to come and reprise us on the fact that we weren't behaving ourselves.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why everything will revert to the Chumash, because as the Vilna Gaon in his later years,
Yeah.
all he learned was the Chumash. He didn't learn anything else.
Okay. But I want to say, because I said before that all of the Chagim, Evelyn, are contained in Purim. So therefore, you're going to read the Megillah Esther, Yehuda, because all of the Chagim, remember we said, all of the Chagim are contained in Purim. Remember we said Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Mi Yichya, Mi Yamut, that's Purim. Right? And Pesach, Cherut, freedom from death. Right? And Shavuos, we got the Torah again. Kiblu Kiblu. And Sukkot, Hashgacha, God protected us. Right? Give me shelter. That's right. So all of the Chagim are contained in Purim, so therefore Megillah Esther will continue to be read.
So after Mashiach comes, we
Because it sums up the Torah. Megillah Esther sums up the Torah.
The Mashiach comes and we're sitting here in the old center of their cave saying, oh, I remember we used to read the book.
I remember. Good old Ezekiel. Yes?
I learned that,
Yeah.
Shavuos, we accepted the Torah.
Shotgun wedding, though. Purim, we did it b'simcha.
The Torah Shabbat Peh.
It doesn't matter.
That's why.
Package deal. Purim, we did it b'simcha. Shavuos, we did it shotgun wedding. So that's the real reason why you celebrate on Purim. You're celebrating the new Kabbalah Satorah b'simcha. That's the real reason for the feast. One reason, anyway. That's one of the reasons, the feast, yes?
Yeah, I just wanted to, this is a good time to insert this. I was going to say this in sometime. I was going to say it now. You're talking about Purim and the Megillah reading.
Right.
Why is it so, I mean, you're going to say more about why it's more important, I'm sure. But the last two words, V'chol Zaro,
V'chol Zaro.
exactly the Mashiach. HaMashiach is equal to the last two
Wow,
words.
is this on here?
No, I didn't.
Wow, Reuven, you're amazing.
That's code. That's
You're just amazing. What? V'chol Zaro is gematria what?
HaMashiach.
HaMashiach. Wow. V'chol Zaro is gematria Mashiach. But why Yehuda, the only book in Tanakh that doesn't have God's name, ironically will be elevated to the status of the Torah and the Chumash? Why is that? How come the Megillah doesn't have God's name?
Because they reaccepted the Torah.
Good, but well, how come God's name is not there?
Because there'll be no actual miracle, revealed miracle.
Megillat Esther means legalot et Hester. What does that mean? Peekaboo, the hidden one. That God is hiding behind the mask. Evelyn, he has to do that, otherwise we wouldn't have free will. We'd be like robots. The purpose of human being is to have free will. So if God wouldn't wear the mask, we wouldn't have free will. So our tafkid is to unmask him, Avram, not to be fooled by the mask. Peekaboo, God is behind the scenes. You know, my Megillah Esther doesn't have God's name. It's not necessary. Every event in the Megillah, you see God if you want to see him. Esther happened to win the beauty contest. There weren't prettier girls than her.
She was green.
Huh? She had a green complexion.
I'd be good too if I was online.
Mordechai happened to overhear Bixam Viseresh talking. Why did he just walk by then?
Chance.
It looks like a string of coinky dinkies. But if you look behind the mask, Malka, you see God everywhere. You don't have to have his name in the Megillah because he's in every event in the Megillah. If you're not fooled by the mask. That's the tafkid of life. Therefore, Purim is such a holy day. Yom Kippurim. It's a day like Purim. All of us are writing our own Megillah. You know that? Whether you know it or not. Did Esther know, why did I win the beauty contest? Why did I have to be taken?
She asked that question.
Vatelokach Esther, she said, Eli, Eli, lama zaftani. Why did you abandon me? Couldn't you protect my honor like you protected Mama Sarah when she was taken by whom? Avimelech and Paroi? Why couldn't you protect my honor? Why did you abandon me? Only 9 years later, Rav Yaakov, looking back, did she connect all the dots. So, all of us in life are writing our Megillah. We all wonder, why is this happening to me? Everybody suffers to have sorot. Why is this happening to me? We don't realize that it's all part of what?
One big story.
One big story.
What a Megillah.
But what a Megillah all of us are writing, and only after 120, looking back from the perspective of eternity, can we connect all the dots. But that's the tafkid, not to falter, not to be fooled by the string of what? Coinky dinkies. How do you say coinky dinky in Hebrew? Mikreh. Mem kof reish hey. Rearrange the word mikreh. Rak me Hashem. Rak me Hashem. That's Purim in a nutshell. What looks like a coincidence, it's all God pulling the strings behind the scene. So in a strange way, Obama is good for the Jews. Because he'll make the Yidden of Teaneck and Lakewood make a liyah. Hopefully, no? Even in Borough Park.
What about California?
What?
What's he doing for APAC?
and all of this anti-Semitism in Europe, this is all part of God's plan to bring us home. Because the Vilna Gaon said, Evelyn, that Mashiach cannot come until the majority of world Jewry comes to Eretz Yisrael. Therefore, the Vilna Gaon sent his Talmidim to Israel. He tried to come himself, but he got shipwrecked. But in 1801, his Talmidim came here before Herzl, 1801, because he said, if you want Mashiach to come, Yidden have to first come to Eretz Yisrael. And only when the Yidden come to Eretz Yisrael, only then can Mashiach come. So every Yid that makes Aliyah is bringing the Mashiach one step closer. He said the majority of world Jewry. Well, almost. By the year 2020, right? By the year, countdown. So Mashiach has to come by the year 2020, no? Or when? 2030. I don't know. According to the Jerusalem Post, the majority of world Jewry will be here by 2040, I think he said. 2020 or 2040.
Shmuel Botek, as used to support Obama, now he's...
Yeah.
Do you know that
Dershowitz used to support Obama.
apparently...
It's God's plan. Obama's good for the Jews. Otherwise, they'll never come back from Lakewood or Borough Park. What?
Apparently 50,000 French Jews...
I'm making Aliyah. Is that unbelievable?
to Israel since that...
50,000 French Jews. Isn't that incredible? 50,000 French Jews are making... French Jews are making Aliyah. What? What? Yeah. Yeah. Now all the Jews, Kimu v'kiblu ha-Yehudim, all the Jews did a tshuva, they accepted the Torah again, b'simcha b'hava. So all the Jews became Haredi. So how come Mashiach didn't come?
Because they weren't in Eretz Yisrael.
Because they didn't leave. They remained in Babylon, Long Island.
That's right.
That's why Mashiach didn't come, right, Rabbi Yaakov? They all did tshuva, but we can be a frum Jew in Babylon, Long Island. And therefore Mashiach didn't come.
Remember the Rish Lakish.
What? Rish Lakish, that's right. An amazing Gemara in Yuma, page 9. Amazing Gemara in Yuma, page 9. Yehuda, you know this Gemara? Rish Lakish was bathing in the river in Tiberias. And Rish Lakish, Yuma, page 9. And Rabbi Bar Bachana came to visit him from Babylon, Long Island. Yuma, page 9. And he says, oh, great Rabbi, let me help you out of the water. Here's a bathrobe for you. He says, go away from me. God hates you. God hates you? Because of you Babylonian Jews, the second temple was destroyed. If you would have made Aliyah with Ezra, not just 42,000, but you would have come up in your millions, Rish Lakish says, the second temple never would have been destroyed. Mashiach would have come then. Malka, that means no Holocaust.
Except...
No Holocaust and no terrorism. That's what it means. So he says, God hates you. That's the greeting he gives to Rabbi Bar Bachana, the great rabbi from Babylon, Long Island, because you and your congregation don't make Aliyah from Babylon, Long Island, you are preventing the Mashiach from coming. Tractate Yuma, page 9. The great Rish Lakish, the chief rabbi of Tiberias. This is what he said to the great rabbi of Babylon, Long Island. What? The brother-in-law of Rabbi Yochanan. Now, the Gemara says in Megillah, page 16, it says in the Megillah, Divrei Shalom ve'emet. The Megillah are words of Shalom ve'emet. So the Gemara says, Melamed shetricha sirtut kamita shel Torah. Just like a Sefer Torah scroll is written, the lines are etched in. So a Megillah has to be written, etched. Melamed shetricha sirtut. Maze sirtut. Etching. Kamita shel Torah. So again, the Gemara is saying that somehow Megillah Esther has the Kedusha of what? A Torah scroll. And strange, it's the only book that doesn't have God's name because God's name is not needed. Because in every event in the Megillah, God is there. I don't have to write his name. He's behind every curtain there. He's pulling the strings. Esther didn't know it. Why is this happening to me? Prettier girls than her. And she won the beauty contest, right? Very interesting. Now, the Gemara says as follows. The Gemara says that what? That even though, the Gemara in Shabbos, page 88, that even though that the Jewish people accepted the Torah the first time they were forced, but on Purim they accepted it again, and therefore oisim suda the Kabbalah Torah. If you look in Parshas Mishpatim, when the Jews got the Torah the first time, in Exodus 24 it says Vayochlu Vayishtu. They ate and drank. In Parshas Mishpatim, when they got the Torah on Shavuos, it says Vayochlu Vayishtu. It says the Ramban to celebrate Kabbalah Torah. So Purim we got the Torah again. So that's why you make a feast. Oisim Suda the Kabbalah Torah. And this time we got it b'simcha u'bahava.
Weren't they punished for
What? That Rashi said they were punished. The Ramban argues and says they were not punished, but whatever it is, they because they gazed, they were looking at whatever was there. But anyway, but it does say, says Vayochlu Vayishtu. It says that they what? That they made a Suda to celebrate what? To celebrate what? Kabbalah Torah. How come every Jewish yontiv there's a mitzvah to manja?
They try to kill us.
They tried to kill us. We won. Let's eat. But why, Abraham? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Why is there Suda? Every event in Yahadut, a bris, you finish a tractate, Shabbos Yontiv, there's a mitzvah to manja. Why?
Jackie Mason asks the same question.
Yeah.
It says about the goyim, says, you want to drink? Want to drink?
Yeah.
What did you say? Let's eat.
Let's eat. Why? I'll tell you why. When you have a Shabbat or a Yom Tov, you finish a tractate, you go to a bris, there's a tremendous amount of extra Kedusha in the air. The Neshama is absorbing the Kedusha from the Shabbat, the Kedusha from the Yom Tov, the Kedusha of finishing a Masechta. The Neshama is absorbing the Kedusha from that event. Neshama. But a human being, Yud is made up of what? Body and soul. So the body says, what about me? What am I, chopped liver? So by eating the chopped liver, it's called spiritual osmosis. My Rebbe Rapam Zatzal said, spiritual osmosis. How do you transfer the Kedusha of the Shabbat or the Yom Tov of finishing a Masechta from the Neshama to the Guf? The Guf feels left out. By eating the chopped liver, I'm not chopped liver. So it's called spiritual osmosis. You're transferring the Kedusha of the event, Shabbos Yontiv, finishing a Masechta, from the Neshama, Rabbi Yaakov Goldman, to what? To the Guf. And therefore, on Purim, there are many mitzvot. Why is the Suda come last? The Suda comes when you do all the other mitzvot, then you have a Suda. Saving the best for last? I gave you the secret. There's beautiful. There's so many mitzvahs on Purim. B'shloach manos, matanos levionim, reading the Megillah, reading Vayovei Amalek. But that's all shayach to what? To Neshama. How does the Guf get to participate? Manja. So you leave the Suda for last. Once the Neshama has absorbed all of the Kedusha from all the other 5 mitzvahs, now I'm ready, Evelyn, to do the osmosis, or to transfer that Kedusha from all the mitzvahs of Purim, to transfer it into what? The body. And how do you do that? Manja. And therefore, you save the Suda for the end of the day. This year it's going to be difficult, because it's a short day, it's Friday. So you have to be very busy like a beaver. This right? Because it's Friday, right? Now, can't we all get along? How come the rabbis couldn't decide on one day, Nechama? Chanukah is the same day for everybody, right? So you have a rabbinic festival, can't we all be on the same page? Why do you have to mix me up? Evelyn, right? One day I want to read the Megillah by you, but I do the 15th and you're the 14th, but in the Efrat, in the Cave of Rochel. Why all this confusion? A guy that does the Megillah on the 14th can't do it on the 15th and vice versa. Why can't we all be on the same page? Why is it not like Hanukkah? What are you mixing me up? Walled city, not walled city. Can't we all get along? The answer is, when did Purim come? 50 years after Koresh had given the Jews permission to make Aliyah, only 42,365 answered his call. 50 years later, what are they still doing in Persia? So God sent them a Haman. 50 years earlier, Cyrus was before Achashverosh, who was the king. Cyrus. 50 years before. 50 years. The Golus Act lasted 70 years. Achashverosh lived towards the end of the Golut. But 50 years earlier, Cyrus had given permission for the Yidden to what? Come back to Pisgat Zev. Only 42,000 answered the call. 50 years later, they're all sitting where? In Babylon, Long Island. So therefore, the rabbis made a knas. You didn't come back, we're not going to celebrate on the same day. It's a knas. You want to celebrate, you have to come to Pisgat Zev, to Eretz Yisrael. And that's my humble opinion, why the rabbis couldn't be on the same page. Because they were upset. Why are Jews still sitting in Paras in Bavel? 50 years after Koresh gave them permission to come back, Yehuda. So God sent them a Haman to what? To wake up. But they didn't get the message. They remained in Paras. That's why Mashiach didn't come. Some people never get it. They just don't get it. God sent them the great miracle of Purim, but they remained behind in Babylon and Paras, and therefore Mashiach didn't come. And therefore Rish Lakish said these biting words to Rabbi Bar Bachana. If you guys would have made Aliyah with Ezra, the second temple would not be destroyed. That means no Holocaust. No Holocaust. That's what it means. What? Parsi. What?
Are you suggesting that if everybody came back to Eretz Israel, there wouldn't have been a Suda at all, and Purim wouldn't have existed?
No, if they would have come back after the Purim miracle, they built the second temple. Who allowed the Jews to build the second temple? Cyrus came before, but he died suddenly. Achashverosh took over, and he suspended the building of the temple. But God has a sense of humor, because Darius II, the son of Achashverosh, he's the one that helped complete the second temple. Him and his mother Esther. Because Achashverosh died right after the Purim story. So who ran the Persian Empire? Esther and baby Darius. Darius II.
Let's say, for instance,
if
Cyrus gave the reshus, gave the permission for the Jews to return,
and only 42,000 came back.
If everybody had come back,
then they wouldn't need Haman. Exactly, Rabbi Aaron. You wouldn't need Haman. That's plan B. That's plan beautiful. If they would have come back, you wouldn't need Haman. They didn't come back. So God sent a Haman, and they still didn't come back. They all became Haredi, but they remained in Babylon, Long Island. Some people, Malka, never get it, unfortunately. Any questions or comments? We have a Shir Wednesday that's Tanis Esther, how to be happy with your lot. Get it? Purim means lot. How to be happy with your lot, 3:45 on Wednesday.
I thought you were going to talk about the heckish between today and Purim today and Purim and the original Purim.
Well, let's talk about it. We still have a couple of minutes. Again, Esther comes from Shevet Benjamin, and she went uninvited to plead that the Jewish people shouldn't be annihilated by what? By the prime minister of Iran. And 2,400 years later, you have Benjamin Netanyahu also coming uninvited to plead with Congress that we shouldn't be annihilated by the current prime minister of Iran, whose name is Khomeini, or the Ayatollah Khomeini. So you have all the players. You have Achashverosh, alias Obama, right? Benjamin Netanyahu, Benjamin, what? Esther, Mordechai also comes from Benjamin. And you have the Haman today, same name, Ayatollah Khomeini. So just like God helped us then, he's going to help us now. Benjamin Netanyahu went to Davin, just like Esther went to Davin. Before she went uninvited, she went to Davin. And Benjamin Netanyahu went to Davin last night, also going uninvited to plead for the Jewish people.
were in
What?
Bavel at that time.
Yeah.
They didn't listen to Mordechai's plea of not to go to the Suda.
Right.
So what about now the majority of Jews in the United States are saying that Netanyahu shouldn't come and give the speech?
That's J Street. That's the J Street Jews.
Say they don't want to.
Right? Right? Yes? 2,400 years ago. Not that I know of, but it must be though. But it's exactly 2,400 years ago. Just amazing. Fast forward, yes?
This is not Benjamin Netanyahu's first time going to the Kotel, number one.
Okay. But he went to daven before he went to plead. Uninvited, just like Esther went to
And I
plead.
was told last night, I was at a party, a porn party, and they said that the Lubavitcher Rebbe in Telstow, the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave Netanyahu a bracha and said to him, "You will lead the Jewish people back to Eretz Yisrael."
You will lead the Jew.
He said, "You will be the."
You also said, don't give away any land.
So are you saying that he's the Mashiach?
No, he said he will lead the Jewish people. He will bring the Jewish people back to Eretz Yisrael.
Okay.
Yeah, the Lubavitcher Rebbe.
But it looks like Obama will lead the Jewish people back to Eretz Yisrael. They'll have no choice.
But he'll be the more.
The abomination, what?
Benjamin Netanyahu is going to play a role.
He's the shliach, right? The shliach, yes?
Question, Rob.
Yes?
We saw by Shmuel.
Yeah.
Shmuel was punished severely and lost his Shaul.
Shaul HaMelech. Because he had Rachmanis on the terrorist.
And what happened is he lost his Malucha.
Right.
Because
Misplaced compassion. Releasing terrorists from jail.
because he didn't destroy the Rechush also.
Also, right.
So now we see with Mordechai and with Esther,
Right.
what did they do? They didn't destroy the Rechush.
So that's the question. That's the question, Aaron. How could Mordechai and Esther take over the base Haman when you have to destroy all Amalekite property? So the Mefarshim answer that it's called laundering. Laundering. Because once Achashverosh killed Haman, he took over his property. So therefore it's not called Amalekite property, now it's called Persian property. It's called money laundering, I think. He made it kosher. He gave the base Haman, he gave it over. He took it for himself, Achashverosh. Now it's no longer Amalekite property. Now it belongs to what? To the Persian king. So the Persian king, you can keep that property.
They learned, you know where they learned it out from?
Yeah.
They learned it out from Melech Sichon Ba'od.
That's right.
When they take it over from Ammon and
Ammon and Moab, they launder it for us. See? Very good, yes? Laundering.
Would you suggest any specific curriculum that we can say to help me?
Psalm 22, Ayelet HaShachar.
Also 83.
That's Esther. Ayelet HaShachar is Esther.
Also 83, because we learned 83. Because we learned the difference between
Right.
Zion and Sefer.
But also 22. 83 and 22. Every Jew at 22. Thank you. Hope to see you on Wednesday, 3:45.